Hi, I'm Keith Krieger, Program Director for Computer Applications Training at JCCC. And today we have some tools, tips, and techniques to help you do your work with common computer applications every day. For this short word tip today, we're going to take a look at a couple of techniques to use Word as a page layout tool. And while there are special pieces of software out there like InDesign that are especially designed for page layout, we can use Word for the same kind of work. So let's assume the scenario here is we have a document that is filled with half a dozen paragraphs, margin to margin, and we'd like to do two things to it. We'd like to quickly change this to a two-column layout, and then we'd like to add a drop cap to the initial letter of the first paragraph. And columns in Word are very, very simple to do because all I have to do is have the cursor setting in the text that I want to convert to columns. I come up to the tab labeled Page Layout, and in the Page Setup section, I'm going to click the Columns button, and I can choose however many columns I want, including unbalanced columns where we have a sidebar either to the left or the right. If we need to get very specific in terms of how the columns are laid out, at the bottom of the Columns menu is More Columns, and I get a couple of things I can do here. I have some presets. I can also add a line in the gutter between the columns, and I can specify spacing and width and whether or not it applies to the entire document or wherever you happen to be setting in the document. In this case, we're going to do two columns with a line between. We're going to accept the standard width and spacing. We're going to apply it to the whole document. When I click OK, Word applies all of those changes. Now we'll dress it up a little, but we're going to take the O in the first letter of this paragraph and make it a drop cap. I'm going to select the character for the drop cap. I'm going to insert with the Insert tab, and there's a drop cap tool over here. And if I hover over the two choices here, it gives me a preview. But I can also, just as we had done with columns, go down to drop cap options. And I can choose, in this case, how many lines the drop cap should extend across, and if there is a little bit of white space around it. When I click OK, Word applies the drop cap. A couple things to note here. If I click the drop cap once, I get a border around it, and if I go back to the drop cap menu, I can go back in and make additional changes and update and refresh how the drop cap looks. I can also manually, by clicking the border of the drop cap, change the size of the drop cap and how the text wraps around it. So even with Word's standard controls, I still have a great deal of control over how that piece of text gets formatted. And we could repeat that throughout the document to dress up each one of our paragraphs in our new two-column layout. We trust you found the tips and tools, techniques in these videos to be helpful in something you can put to use almost immediately. We know that these are things that can be shared easily, and we encourage you to share them with your colleagues and your friends. Post them to Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn for other people to take advantage of. And if you like, we'd be happy to send you the notes of the tools and techniques that we've shown you here today. Please feel free to send us a message at the address on the screen, and we'll get those right out to you. Thanks.